Greetings, scholars. This lecture is going to be on the Transcontinental Railroad. Essential questions for today. These you will be able to answer after listening to this lecture and viewing the PowerPoint and taking notes from this. What was the significance of the Transcontinental Railroad? Alright, why is this such a big deal? Okay, why do we even learn about this in history class? What's the significance about it? The second question, what were the characteristics of the Union Pacific Railroad? Third question, what were the characteristics of the Central Pacific Railroad? These are the two railroad companies that work together and they try to meet in the middle, being the two parts of the eventual Transcontinental Railroad. Laying the track begins in 1863. We know that other events are going on in the United States, such as the Civil War, started in 1861. So they start the laying of this track during the Civil War. First railroad company is the Union Pacific Railroad. Union Pacific Railroad begins in Omaha, Nebraska, and it builds east to west. Okay, so it's moving west. It's going to meet the other railroad company. Okay, so it's going to keep on moving west. Really, the Union Pacific lays a lot more track than the Central Pacific because, looking at geography now, all it has to do is cross plains. Okay, no very difficult mountains. So starting in Nebraska, very flat, a lot of just grassy plains, so it's very easy to lay this track. One of the difficulties they did have, however, was dealing with the Native Americans. With the Transcontinental Railroad comes the killing of buffalo. Okay, who are these white men? They've already started killing off our way of life. Okay, now they're building this thing, which is the railroad. Alright, so the Native Americans start attacking the railroad companies. So that's difficulty for the Union Pacific. The workforce consists of mainly Irish workers. Some Army veterans after the Civil War will come join in and then they'll use their leadership skills that they used in the war, but mainly it's Irish workers working on the Union Pacific. And if you can look down on this map here, Union Pacific is the blue. Right down here. Next up is Central Pacific Railroad. This one begins in Sacramento, California, and it moves east. Okay, so it starts off west, moves east. The way I remember it is Central Pacific is moving towards Central America, or Central United States. This one has Central Pacific, has difficulty because it has to cut through the Sierra Nevadas. Okay, it's very rocky, difficult mountain range to cut through. So they use nitroglycerin, okay, a very dangerous method of cutting through the mountains, but it eventually works. Their workforce consists mainly of Chinese immigrants. Okay, there's a workforce shortage in the West. The majority of the population is way out east on the East Coast, and there's not a lot of people out west yet in California. Yes, there was the gold rush, but still there's not a lot of willing workers out there. It's extremely difficult work. Okay, you're cutting through the Sierra Nevadas and you're using nitroglycerin. Very, very dangerous chemicals, very dangerous in dealing with the Sierra Nevadas. So they believe that, hey, since the Chinese, they built the Great Wall of China, they can come over here and build the Transcontinental Railroad in the United States. So the majority of these workers are Chinese immigrants. Kind of the last slide here is, I know it's a very short, brief presentation, but it's kind of the main facts. The last spike is driven in Promontory Point, Utah. Okay, so the two companies meet in Utah, right where my little cursor is. It's finished in 1869. Okay, so after the Civil War is finished, and the last spike was gold, a golden spike. And there was a ceremony where the governor of California came out and he was going to drive home the last spike. So he swung the hammer, missed it. So one of the railroad company owners comes over, tries to finish off the last spike, and misses again. And finally, one of the railroad workers, okay, one of the lowly railroad workers, comes up and drives in the last spike. So it begins kind of with these lowly workers, and it ends with one of the workers finishing off the last spike.